All right, so I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:02, Zach. And what I'd like to ask the members to do first is to, enjoy themselves during this meeting. It's going to be, I think, a good meeting, and I think we'll be able to end the year on a very good note. And I just wanted to state that I'm sure we're all aware that the Lee board is confronting a number of concerns raised by its citizens about a potential landfill in Lee. And I personally, and I know the rest of the board members will agree with me, feel that the objectivity and the diligence and the earnestness with which you're confronting the concerns of these citizens is admirable, and you're a credit to our Tri-Town boards of health. So thank you very much for that effort. And I would think in the future the Tri-Town boards could look to the idea of whether or not Tri-Town boards of health itself should get involved in anything related to this. But I would say that should happen once the Lee board has finished its full consideration and we understand exactly what's happening. So again, I want to thank the Lee board for its diligent effort, and let's proceed with the meeting.
Thanks, Charlie.
You're welcome. So Jim, what we're going to do next is approve the 6/6/22 minutes. I know you distributed them to everybody. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yep.
Mr. Chair, if we can just call a meeting to order and do a roll call.
I did already.
Vote.
I did call the meeting.
Yeah, you got to do it. Everyone's got to do a roll call vote though, since we're fully remote.
I'm sorry?
We have to do a roll call vote because we're fully remote for every vote we take.
Okay, go ahead.
So
You want to have a roll call?
motion to call the meeting to order. Anyone want to make a motion?
I make a motion.
Second.
All in
Dr.
favor,
Kenny.
roll call vote.
Dr. Kenny.
Aye.
Diane.
Aye.
Dr. Blagg.
Aye.
Dr. Letice.
Aye.
Dr. Schwerner.
Aye.
Dr. Kearns.
Aye.
Dr. Westpizer.
Okay, thank you all. Thanks, Jim. Okay, so thank you for that procedural reminder. Next item on the agenda, or first item, is to approve the 6/22 minutes. And Jim, I understand you've distributed them to everybody. Does anybody have any comments to make about the minutes?
Other than it's just 6/6/22.
6/22.
6/6/22.
6/6/22. Got it. 22 minutes. Does anybody have any comments about those minutes?
No.
No.
All right, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second it. Whoop.
Okay, a roll call vote.
Aye.
Dr. Kenny. Okay, I'll just call your name so it's easier. Dr. Kenny.
Aye.
Diane.
Aye.
Doctors Blagg.
Aye.
Letice.
Aye.
Schwerner.
Aye.
Westpizer.
Aye.
Kearns.
Aye.
Thank you. I think that's
Okay, so
everybody.
let the notes say that the minutes say that the minutes were approved unanimously without any comment. The next item on the agenda is the FY24 draft budget for review and approval. We've already seen this before. Jim has distributed it before. Are there any questions about it? Jim has it here in front of us.
Yeah, I'm going to give first I'll give the presentation if the board doesn't mind. If there's any questions, let me know. You can either interrupt me in between or at the end. So basically, here's our quick bullet for what we're going to talk about: budget highlights, budget proposal, our recent revenues for last fiscal year, our accomplishments, a very short overview of the Southern Berkshire Collaborative, and our main priorities for FY24 and beyond. So basically, this draft budget, which I'll be asking later, unless there's any changes, for a motion to approve to submit to Finance Committee for all three towns for the next level. So basically, it just incorporates our 2.5% cost of living increases, as well as routine pay raises that are scheduled. FY24 will mark our last inspector that will now qualify for longevity pay. If an employee is with department for a minimum of 5 years, they get an annual longevity pay, and it continuously goes up. And so I think it's a reflection on how stable the staffing is. And hopefully everyone's happy working for Tri-Town, as well as myself and the boards. And I think having staff stability is a good thing versus constant turnover and constantly training and expending resources and downtime to train new people coming into the field. So I think it's a reflection of how stable the department is moving forward. The fringe benefits, which incorporates health insurance, Medicare, workman's comp, retirement, and all that stuff, it's level funded when you look at the budget. The reason why it's level funded is because we have to wait for the town of Lee to finally crunch the numbers to give us if insurance is going to go up or go down. There's a likelihood that it's going to go up, but as a placeholder for now, it's level funded compared to last fiscal year. Very small incremental changes for our online permitting. We bumped up a little bit of the communications. It's mainly because the hot spots that we have for Verizon for the inspectors to do their inspections in the field goes up a little bit from Verizon and Spectrum. And we did bump up our travel a little bit. Although gas is coming down a little bit, it's higher than it has been in previous fiscal years. So our travel costs get really close to full expenditure by the end of the fiscal year. And our percentages are still right on the money, with Lee at 33, Lennox 43, and Stockbridge 24, equaling 100%. I look at this proposal as a maintenance budget. There's nothing earth-shattering that we need. We're in relatively good shape, and it really just incorporates very small changes in what is required for pay raises. And so basically what this is the condensed budget. It doesn't give you the 3-town breakdown, which will be the next slide, but everything in yellow is what the proposed budget is. So looking at full-time salaries, the 260,498, which reflects 4 full-time employees, which is myself, Zach, John, and Jason. The nurse program is a grant program that's totally separated out when it comes to that. So this is what the employees are making now. And then you'll see later on what the incorporated costs will be. We still budget overtime. We don't do everything on the weekends, but we try to capture the very large events. Founders Day, Apple Squeeze, Harvest Fest, and there's a few others. From time to time, we will get a call for like a fire or a fire suppression blast that one of the inspectors will get paid overtime to go. And you'll see the fringe benefits. It's level funded as compared to last year. It's really just a placeholder till we figure that out. Getting to non-personnel stuff. Really, we bumped up communications like $300. Web permitting's up $500 because they add a % increase typically each year. The public health nursing, although I mentioned that the grant covers this dollar amount, the $39,520, is our allocation to purchase our private vaccines. If the nurse has to work overtime, for example, we got to hire per diem nurses. We got to buy tons of supplies for our flu clinics, which we've done tons of them. We still have to come up with those costs outside of the grant funding, just like the other towns in the collaborative put in their allocations to help support the vaccine amount. And we bumped up in-state travel a little bit. The compensation reserve is a combination of cost of living, the educational stipends, and longevity for the staff. And the total budget is 460, 697, and the other towns owe us 308, 667, and I'll show you that. So where it says total budget at the bottom where it says 148, this is the Lee portion because this is a Lee format that I have to submit to Lee, and then I submit the other formats to the towns. Any questions with respect to the condensed budget? I'll show you the 3-town breakdown in a second.
No.
Okay. So this right here is basically those same line items kind of broken down by the percentages of the towns. And if you look way at the bottom, you'll see what we budgeted for FY23 and what we budgeted for FY24 and what the number increases. And it's a really, it may sound like a lot, but it's really low in comparison to the entire budget. And it's right around a 3%, which is really reflective of the cost of living and pay raises that we have to keep people employed. So that's the 3-town breakdown, which is a really easy budget to navigate. There's nothing of significance that are red ticket items that we really have to push to get approval by the finance committee. It should be a relatively easy budget this year. Thank you, Zach, for putting all these numbers together once again. So basically, there's a lot of information here, but what's really important is looking straight down at the bottom. We kind of break down our revenue types, and from FY21 to FY22, we've increased our revenue by 5.5%. However, the previous fiscal year revenues were down a certain percent. So we've actually closed a gap of about $9,000. So although it's not a lot of revenue, I think it's a sign that we're coming out of the pandemic. You know, a couple of years in a row, FY20, FY21, you know, with the special events, for example, certain businesses weren't open. Although septic and housing were still pretty busy, you know, we weren't doing the laboratory, for example. For those that don't know, we actually have our own laboratory where we do all our own beach testing. We do all the ice in restaurants from the dispensers. We do our own pool testing. We do private well testing and a few other services. Well, when the business isn't open during the pandemic, we can't collect ice samples. And when the resorts aren't open in the summer for pools, we can't do pool inspections. So we were losing a little bit of revenue, and I'm excited. As I was mentioning to Zach a couple of weeks ago, I was really fearful that we were going to take another loss this year, but with a 5.5% increase from past fiscal year, I think it's a sign that things are improving, and I think we were pretty busy this past summer. Just a little bit of a graph. You know, from FY19 to FY21, we lost a little bit, all 3 towns, and we're slowly coming back up. So it's a good sign that we're improving. We're still not at our peak where we were in FY19 at 210, 289, but we're working our way back. All right. If there's not any, is there any questions on the budget? I'll just get through the highlights and then I'll open it up to the board members. So quickly, our public health nursing program, it is a grant fund. We get $300,000 a year. And they're talking 12 plus years, and there's possibly more money coming to expand regional shared services. This was our first year of rolling out our vaccine program.
January 6th. The violence and looting goes against.
Someone could just put something on mute. I hear it's something like a TV in the background. Sorry. I don't know if that's a Channel 13 news or not. So we rolled out our vaccine program, which took a lot of effort from the staff to get approved. Thank you, Dr. Kenny, once again for being the medical director for the collaborative, for signing all the standing orders and working with the nurses on that. We We administered around 2,800, which I think that was last week's number. We're actually up a little bit more. We actually did a Simon's Rock clinic this week, and we also did another clinic at WEB Dubois in South County. We're offering the bivalent, the primaries, regular dose flu, high dose flu, and we just got a standing order signed today to offer by appointment only 6-month-old to the 17-year-olds, which we'll be working on after the holiday break. We're not sure we're going to run large clinics for that age cohort. It may be just too chaotic. I think Jill and our new nurse, which will be starting on the 3rd, will probably do appointments only. And there's still a few things we need to sort out for protocols and so on and so forth. We're really proud of Jill offering the homebound vaccination program, something we wanted to do. And, we did lose one of our nurses at the beginning of the flu clinic season. So we were really short staffed for a while. Jill and Jane and some of the other inspectors actually worked some of the clinics, but she had been picking away on doing homebounds. And so we're getting a good group of folks that just don't have accessibility to make these clinics. And we're slowly but surely increasing the homebound vaccination program. Again, we did the drive-through rapid testing when we needed to. We're doing monthly blood pressure clinics. We distributed tons of PPE and masks to South County stakeholders. Effective January 3rd, we have hired Heidi Reagan, who is a longtime BHS employee who is joining our team, who comes with a wealth of knowledge and even has a certification for infection control. So I think she'll be starting on the 3rd, and we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg with our regional nurse program. There's so many other things we want to accomplish. We want to do foot clinics at some point and just do more and more things that really make an impact with respect to health equity, accessibility, and really working with our populations that really need assistance. And as a quick breakdown of our Tri-Town clinics, we did 12 and a little bit of a breakdown. And I think it's a good, healthy number for our first year rolling out the program. And as we grow, I expect that we'll be doing more. Is there any questions?
No, I just wondered how many more pages there were of it.
Oh, but like 2 or 3 more. I'm kind of going through it.
See the whole thing. I was just trying to look at it.
Yeah. It's quickly with respect to Tri-Town. We talked about we're up on some revenues. Our household hazardous waste collections going really strong. The state credentialing and the minimum training for public health is a reality. We'll see how that's going. We still have our tobacco retailer training program in our grant funded program, and obviously the nurse program. Some of the most recent things, we do have a Sharp kiosk program. We're just waiting to find a vendor to work on that. We'll be rolling that out. We've already discussed the co-responder clinician program. We're interviewing for that position, and some other high-level stuff. Main priorities going forward for Tri-Town: continued response to COVID, workforce credentialing, continue to expand our comprehensive nurse program, and some other things. And that is basically it. And I'll take any questions. And if there are any questions, I'll ask for a motion to approve the preliminary budget to send it off.
Okay, well, first of all, I just want to thank Jim for all the hard work he does. I mean, he really pulls that whole train of the Tri-Town Health Department. We all know that. And we all know from working with him individually how he totally understates how much work he does. So I just like to give him a round of applause right there, because he is such a good leader of the Tri-Town Health Department. Okay, so I'd like to ask again at Jim's, are there any questions about the budget?
And I'll just add to it, and thank you, Dr. Kenny, for that. But like, I can't do anything without the staff. The staff that we have and retained, and even some of the recent hires is a reflection of the Tri-Town, leadership and whatnot. I can't accomplish what I can accomplish without Zach and John and Jason and Jill and Jane and all the others. We seem to be growing like gremlins, but it's Tri-Town's in really good shape. So thank you for that.
Okay, so if there aren't any questions, I'd like to have a motion to approve the budget as described by Jim.
I move to approve the budget as described. Yes.
And I'll second it.
Okay, a roll call vote for that, please.
Dr. Kenny,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
Doctors Blag,
Aye.
DJ, Schwerner,
Aye.
Westpizer,
Aye.
Kearns,
Aye.
and Joanne.
Okay, thank you for that, Jim. Now the next is a report on it. As you recall, there were quite a number of allegations raised against the board for potential open meeting law violations. And Jim has a letter from the Attorney General. They did a complete review of this. Jim, do you want to address this and let us know what happened?
Yeah, as the board recalls, we've had a series of complaints, and then we actually had Stockbridge Town Council assisting us with that. We typically rotate through town councils, and I want to thank Council Brewer for assisting us with that. We did get the final determination, which I know I forwarded to the boards of health when it came out back in October.
Yep.
You do have a copy of it dated October 14th, 2022. And basically, which I won't read verbatim, but on the last page, and I'll read it as stated, for the reasons stated above, we find that the board did not violate the open meeting law as alleged. We now consider the complaints addressed by this determination to be resolved. The determination, and it goes on about contacting the office. But, there was one recommendation in there by the Attorney General's office, which we've already taken in consideration, is, Zach and I talk all the time about the state doesn't ask for verbatim transcript of our minutes, but just to be cognizant when we do create our minutes to try to capture some of those conversations that happen, which not a violation at all. And one of the other things I will mention is that we have always, as a district, we have always posted our agendas in a timely fashion with all three towns. We posted in Lee, we posted in Lenox, we posted in Stockbridge. Those are the main legal posting sites for the Tri-Town agenda. We also posted on the Tri-Town website, which is not the legal posting location, but we do post it there. And so in the Tri-Town boards have not ever voted to make the Tri-Town website the sole posting location, but we still do all four. And so we're in compliance with that. And frankly, it's just, we find that it's closed. The AG ruled on it, and I think it's time for us to move on that subject, unless there's specific questions by the board.
Jim, did that satisfy the accuser?
Well, we haven't heard a response back from the accuser, so the case is closed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the draft tobacco regulations, which we've already heard about before, and there have been suggestions and modifications recommended, and they've been incorporated, as I understand, Jim, you can correct me if I'm wrong, into the current draft tobacco regulations that we all have in hand right now. And so, Jim, do you want to take the baton there?
Sure. It's actually the June 6, 2022 meeting. The board asked that we incorporate into the draft regulation a retirement clause. If a business closes, we retire the tobacco permits, that we restrict smoking bars, and we also restrict non-tobacco flavors, which have been incorporated into this draft. And so unless there's additional recommendations in this draft regulation, I'm going to ask that the board make a motion and approve this draft to be moved to a March 2023 public hearing to be determined. Since we meet quarterly, I'm looking for a vote, not to approve the regulations, just to vote to accept the draft as written to move to the next step, which is a public hearing in March.
Okay, so does everybody understand that if we approve these draft regulations for presentation at a hearing and consideration at a hearing, all that means is we will not be making any more changes to these particular draft recommendations before we present them at an open hearing. And so this will be at hic jacet est. We've got these and we're going to bring them to a hearing. If you decide you want to add some or change some things about it, this is the time to do it. And then we don't pass it on to the hearing. So if anybody has any recommendations or statements to change this or anything to say, please say it now. Okay, then if there aren't any comments or recommended changes or anything else, I'd like to have the motion to approve this draft for consideration at a future hearing this spring.
So moved.
Second, anybody got a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, let's have a roll call vote, Jim.
Dr. Kenny,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
Doctors Blagg, Letice,
Aye.
Dr. Schwerner,
Aye.
Dr. Westpfizer,
Aye.
Dr. Kearns,
Aye.
Joanne.
Aye.
Okay, so welcome, Joanne. So I think we lost Noel, Dr. Blagg for a moment, but we got Joanne. So I think we're even. that was, and now Dr. Blagg is back. You want to weigh in on that?
Aye.
Okay, so we have a unanimous approval of this. Thank you. So let's move on to the next item, which are the Tri-Town Collaborative updates and the department updates. Jim?
Yeah, I think I covered a lot of that in the presentation of the budget. I just had it on the agenda in case there was anything that I needed to share. But other than that, things are going really well. For those that are still practicing, as a reminder, we have a child car seat installation program that Jill is trying to get these car seats out to families of need. We still got about 60 car seats left. We're trying to work with Fairview in the BHS mother baby unit, but we haven't really gotten a lot of response back, but we've been working with some of the childcare facilities. So for those that have any connections that know of anyone or are interested, let us know. Jill is a certified tech. And when Heidi starts, she'll be a second person that's certified. I've already gone through some of the vaccine numbers, and we're just moving forward with the collaborative, and it's just another reflection of the importance of regional shared services. Outside of that, I've really presented my updates, unless Zach has something he wants to offer the board.
Okay, thank you, Jim. So now we have an opportunity for citizens. Are there anybody in the audience that you think is interested in speaking? Do you want to just go over some of the rules there, or let's say what we're going to ask the citizens to do in order to speak?
Yep, we're going to ask everybody to state their name and the town they live in clearly for the record, and keep your comments to 2 minutes or less.
Thank you, Zach. Do we have anybody on board there?
We have nobody on board.
Okay, okay, Joanne, were you raising your hand there? Are you a citizen? I
Hold on, Joanne,
you got to say something. You got to unmute yourself, please.
Hold on.
I just have a question about your car seat thing you were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that also like a clinic to install car seats?
Oh, yes. So basically, we have flyers in English and Spanish. Jill got certified like a year ago.
Okay.
We got 2 grants to get free car seats. So basically, She takes the old car seat out, destroys it, educates the family, installs the new one, and all free.
Well, what if you have a brand new car seat? You just need somebody to make sure it's in correctly.
I can,
That's-
so yeah, so shoot me an email connected with Jill.
Okay, because I have one in my car for my granddaughter, and I think it's okay, but I won't let anybody touch it because I'm afraid to move it. Because there's like anchors under the seat. I just wanted to know if people. The state police
Jill
used to
does
do it.
that. Yeah, Jill will check it for you. Absolutely.
Is the car seat availability just for people that live in the Tri-Town area?
No.
No?
Anyone who wants a car seat, call us.
Okay.
Is that just regular car seats, or is that infant car seats also?
Don't quote me on the type, but we got 2 different grants. One was from Toyota, one was from I think maybe GM. It's really meant for people that really need it, but like we're not going to just give them away. We have to install them. It's part of the grant requirement, but yeah, we still got 50 plus, and they're in very large boxes, and we need to move them.
Well, that's good to know, because if I'm with kids all the time. If I know of anybody who needs a car seat, I can say, here,
Yeah, and there's not a lot of people out there that do car seat installs anymore.
Right.
I think Pittsfield.
Has Jill sent any notices to the pediatricians' offices?
We've done tons of it.
All right, good.
Jim, that's for infants too, you said, right?
Yeah, whoever sits in a car seat, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Up to, I don't know, was they like 15, 20 still in the car seat? I don't know.
Okay, so if there are no other items on the agenda, and I don't see any, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn this meeting. And I want to thank you all for having such a nice meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Motion.
All right, roll call. Dr. Kenny.
Aye.
Diane.
Aye.
Dr. Blagg.
Aye.
Dr. Ludice.
Aye.
Dr. Schwerner.
Aye.
Dr. Westpizer.
Aye.
Dr. Kearns.
Aye.
Joanne.
Aye.
All right, everybody have a nice holiday and happy New Year.